A dream. Fuck. Bomb 'em all. Cale shouted as he sat up on the bed with a jerk, his icy blue eyes were wide open, showing intense emotions like shock, anger and fear. Ha, ha, ha. His skin was covered with sweat, damp strands of hair clung to his forehead and his chest rose and fell rapidly, his breathing uneven. Ba dump ba dump ba dump. His own heartbeat echoed in his ears, the visions of his dream still lingered in his mind. Ha. He took a deep breath and rubbed his face, trying to steady his breathing. The ordinary room around him dull. Beige walls, faint scent of that cheap room freshener that lingered in the air, the study desk cluttered with textbooks, papers, and an empty coffee cup, and the unkempt bed with messy bedsheets he lay on. It all seemed alien for a moment. The small window above the desk allowed some sunlight in, showing that the sun was up. Cale. Suddenly, Cale heard a muffled, unclear voice. It was his roommate, Mark, who had been sleeping next to him. Mark's hair was a mess, his half-open eyes were filled with annoyance. Same dream again. Cale didn't respond right away. His breathing was still messy, his hands were shaking slightly as he ran them through his black hair, trying to clear his mind. Yeah, he muttered, his voice hoarse. Same oh. Before he could complete the sentence, a pillow was thrown right at his face. You fucker. I told you to stop watching anime for a while. It's affecting you, and now it's affecting my sleep as well. Mark shouted, and in an instant, Cale, whose head was still hazy, was jolted awake. Fuck you. What has that got to do with this? He shouted back, throwing the pillow back at him. Oh yeah, magic gates all over the sky. Monsters pouring out of those gates. Some half-dragon half-human looking dude fighting against those monsters together with his army of dragons. A woman smirking disdainfully as that dragon man is killed by the monsters. Out of all of this, what does not have a relation with anime or all those comics and novels you read? Ha. Also, the fuck do you mean by bomb? And all. Bomb who? The monsters. The dragons. What animes are you even watching? Bomb should work, no. After all, they are explosive devices that release intense energy through heat, light, sound, and pressure. They cause destruction via blast waves, heat and shrapnel. They damage structures, inflict severe injuries, and Shut up, nerd. Mark snapped. Stop talking about bombs. They don't work in fantasy settings. Why do you have to bring your nerdy self in everywhere you go? I only introduced the weeb world to you because I wanted you to chill the fuck out, stop being such a nerd and be a cool guy like me. How in the hell have you fallen so deep into it that you are now dreaming about it? And to think you are dreaming about demi-humans already. Fuck it, even if you are dreaming. Why are you dreaming of a dragon? Man, why not a strong and sexy dragon woman? Or better, a foxkin with fluffy ears and tails. A Catwoman would be great as well. Why are you dreaming of a fucking man? Who in the hell likes men? Mark spoke with absolute disgust. Then, suddenly, his expression changed as he remembered something. Wait, are those girls actually right? Are you gay or something? At this revelation, Mark crawled away from Cale, looking at him with fear evident in his eyes. Soon, however, as if not wanting to get cancelled, he slowly approached Cale and, look, dude, even if that is the case, I accept you as you are. We live in an independent country. You can like anyone you wish, that is completely normal, and I will support your decision. From a distance, Mark spoke, and Cale, who heard his words, felt his mouth twitching. I see you no longer wish to pass your final semester exams, he muttered with a big smile on his face, and in an instant, Mark's expression changed. He lunged forward, gripping Cale's arm with eyes full of desperation. Come on man, you know I'm joking. Don't you? You won't do something so petty for a simple joke, now will you? Ha 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 tilde. Mark laughed. Cale just stared, silent. Cale, you cannot do this to me. You are the only one I have. For someone who wanted to support Cale's decision from a distance, Mark's words were quite suspicious. However, no matter what Mark said, Cale stayed silent, continuing to observe him. Then, a wicked smile appeared on his face, and, "You know what to do, no? You." Mark widened his eyes in disbelief. Cale's smile widened even further. "You. I can't do it. Anything but this." "Oh well, if it's anything but this, I guess you will be saving some money this time, since you won't need to buy the next semester's books, not that you buy those. Anyway." Cale shrugged, and Mark's face paled. "Dude, my mother will kill me. You know how she is. I gave you the option, my friend." Cale shrugged, turning away. Mark gritted his teeth and, "Please help me, father," he shouted, his eyes closed. Because of how humiliated he felt. Cale's smile widened. "Of course I will, my dear son." Mark clenched his fists in frustration, and Cale just laughed. "All right, sleep for 30 more minutes if you want, I'll go get freshened up." Cale spoke as he stood up and walked into the bathroom. An hour later, Cale and Mark were walking to the university. It was only a kilometer away from their room, so they usually chose to walk. On their way, Cale was unusually silent, and Mark, who noticed that, turned to him, thinking about that dream again. He questioned. This time, his face showed concern. "This is the 4th time this week," Cale replied, turning towards him. "It used to be a blurry, hazy vision that I'd dream about once every couple of months. But now it's so vivid. I can see every face, remember every detail. It doesn't even feel like a dream anymore. It feels so real." Chapter 2. Just get a girlfriend. "It used to be a blurry, hazy vision that I'd dream about once every couple of months. But now it's so vivid. I can see every face, remember every detail. It doesn't even feel like a dream anymore. It feels so real." "Dude, you are literally dreaming about dragons and shit." Mark stared at his roommate with a deadpan look on his face. No matter how much he tried, he just couldn't take his problem seriously. "It is just a dream, it feels more vivid, because that is all you think about these days. But do you not find it weird at all? Dreams are influenced by emotions, daily experiences, and subconscious thoughts, oftentimes. They reflect memories, or unresolved issues. It is the sleep quality that shapes a dream's vividness, but in my case, no matter what quality of sleep you have, it doesn't affect it in the slightest. External stimuli, diet, mental health, or even sleep posture seem to have no effect on my dream either. The people or the monsters I see in my dreams, I have never seen anything like them before. Then how is my brain picturing them? Not to mention it is picturing them to the point I remember them clearly, every single detail of every single monster, I remember it all. Do you not find any of this strange at all? I just feel like this is not just a dream, but something deeply connected to me." Cale voiced out his thoughts, and Mark, who was looking at him from the start, nodded with a serious look on his face as well. "Now that you say it, it does feel strange, right? I think I understand what all of this means." Suddenly, Mark spoke up as he glanced at Cale. "What?" Cale questioned. "You must be the main character, who will be summoned to another world that is being threatened by foreign monsters. As hero, you will be tasked to save that world. The dream you see must be how the previous Hera, the Dragon Man, lost against the foreign monsters, and now all the responsibility is on you, the new and brave hero. It is up to you to defeat the monsters, create a harem of beautiful women, and then live a happy life as the strongest existence in the world. It all makes sense now. You were destined to take this responsibility, the one man tied to strings of fate, the hero, the lone warrior, the avenger, the Iron Man. Captain America, though ACCKKK. Shut the fuck up, you bastard." Cale shouted as he put Mark in a chokehold. ACCKKK. Mark struggled to get away but couldn't. "Aren't you speaking a little too much these days, my dear son?" Cale questioned. Mark wanted to say something but couldn't. It was even difficult for him to breathe, let alone say something. Seeing that, Cale loosened his grip, allowing him to speak. "Mark, However, use this chance to push him aside and create a distance between the two. Fuck you, you bastard. Isn't that what you wanted to listen to anyway? My dream feels like it is deeply connected to me. Bullshit. Do you not hear how fucking dumb that sounds? I can't believe a dumbfuck like you is a top-ranking student of the university with the highest GPA. My university's future is doomed. Mark spoke, his hands grabbing his head as he prepared for his impending doom. Yeah, don't forget to think through the fact that you are relying on this dumbfuck to pass this semester before the universities worry about your future. I am not a bookworm like you, I am street smart. I learn from experience. Mark snorted. Street smart. Dude, you fell into a gutter when you were coming back to the room after being wasted. If it wasn't for me who picked you up and brought you back, people would have thought you were some street dog instead of street smart. Kale's reply was harsh. As I said, I learned from that experience so I won't make the same mistake again. This is how you grow in life, Mark replied, avoiding Kale's eyes. Kale was speechless. What the hell were you learning with your face inside the gutter? He had many questions but decided to stay silent. Mark turned silent as well. The two roommates continued to silently walk to their university and, after a few minutes, I am telling you, stop watching anime for a while. Believe it or not, it is affecting you. Mark spoke. Yes, yes. Kale nodded in a dismissive tone. Mark, who knew this bastard wouldn't listen, continued. Just get a girlfriend, that will solve everything. You are 22 already, for God's sake. I am trying, okay. It's hard out there, Kale complained. You fucking bastard. Mark directly pushed Kale away in frustration. Hard for you. Saying that with a face like yours, do you want to die or something? You don't even do anything and the girls throw themselves at you. It is you who moves away and don't catch them, you bastard. I literally brought a girl to our room just because I told her you were my roommate, just imagining how easy you would have it, but you not making use of it wants me to kill you. Mark was indeed frustrated. You know I am looking for something substantial. I do not want something that ends within a week. I need a partner I can spend my leaf. Fuck you, Mark shouted. I want something substantial. He mimicked Kale's words in a comical way. It is 2026, wake the fuck up. The love you read in those novels ain't real. Something substantial doesn't exist. You will die a virgin if you keep thinking this way. So be it. Kale shrugged. Tisk, you are hopeless. Mark snorted as the two continued their walk. Just as the two reached the gates and were about to greet the guard, heroes, please awaken the potential hidden inside you and save the world. They heard a voice. Huh, what did you say? Mark turned towards Kale with a frown on his face. Kale frowned as well. Huh, what the hell is this? Both of them heard the voice. It came from the guard, who was staring at a white circle with complex patterns that had suddenly appeared beneath him. Mark and Kale realized they had similar circles under their feet. Looking around, they noticed other students had them as well. Is this some gimmick? A universe function we weren't told about? Mark frowned. But a projector shouldn't be able to do this on such a large scale. Especially when we can't even see anything around. And that voice as well. Kale was just as confused. Whoosh. However, before he could say or think anything else, the circle beneath his feet shined brightly, blinding him momentarily, and the next thing he heard was, "He has arrived." Chapter 3. I am a hero. He has arrived. An old man in white robes exclaimed, his eyes full of reverence, his voice quivering with a mix of awe and joy. The hero is here. We succeeded. O Pharaohs, thank you for blessing us. Lord Pharaohs, O noble hero, Nerithus will be saved. We will be saved. That man wasn't alone, all the people around him exclaimed just like him. Their eyes were full of awe and reverence as well. Huh. Kale frowned in confusion. He remembered seeing that strange circle that had appeared beneath him. he thought that it was some university gimmick, but then suddenly, the circle started shining brightly, blinding his eyes. He covered his eyes with his arms and the next thing he knew, he was hearing these voices. Slowly, Cale opened his eyes and the moment he did, he froze. Where is this place? He questioned out loud, his eyes displaying his shock. He was in a completely different place. I didn't feel anything. He frowned. He was in front of his university gates a few seconds ago. How in the hell did he appear in a completely different place that he didn't even know about? It was as if he was teleported here. Wait, I teleported here. Cale blinked in surprise. However, before he could think too much, oh noble hero. A zealous voice attracted his attention. His eyes finally fell on the scene in front of him and... What in the hell are these guys doing? Around 20 dudes in white robes were kneeling before him, their foreheads pressed to the ground. Cale was questioning everything he was seeing. First, he was teleported to some random place he had never been to before, and now he was being greeted by these folks. Had normal divorced him or something? First, it was the dreams and the wait. Cale suddenly realized something. These dreams are getting too fucking real. He cursed in his head, but then, he sighed. At least it is a bit different this time. As he calmed down, Cale looked around, knowing that all of this was his own imagination, he couldn't help but be impressed. He was in a grand, circular hall, its walls were made of polished white marble. At the center, there was a massive translucent crystal. The air here was very different from the impure, polluted air back where he came from. Above the dome ceiling were some paintings depicting different beasts roaming freely alongside 4 ethereal figures. Those 4 figures were painted with painstaking detail. Cale also noticed that he was standing at the very heart of this hall. It was a circular platform made of white marble, engraved with what looked like some magic runes. The runes were glowing faintly, it indeed left a magical impression. Around the hall, there were 4 towering statues, a dragon, a lion, a serpent, and a phoenix. Quite detailed, Cale praised in his head. The hero of the prophecy. Suddenly, a voice called out, attracting Cale's attention. The man raised his head and Cale was finally able to see him, an old man with white hair and a beard. Just like other people around, he was wearing white robes that had a badge on the chest. The badge depicted 2 hands that were joined together, praying to a god. One look was enough for Cale to know who these people were. Priests, I understand your confusion and disbelief. You have every right to feel this way, being summoned to this sacred place without warning. But I ask that you place your trust in the divine order. Allow me to offer clarity and reveal the purpose behind this summon. The priest spoke. Cale turned towards the priest, looking forward to whatever the dude had to say. I am Pope Altherin of the Church of Pharaohs. The priest started by introducing himself. We, the faithful of this church, devote ourselves to the worship of Lord Pharaohs. It is through his divine blessing that we were able to summon you, the hero, to this sacred place. Pope Altherin continued. Cale listened carefully. To think his imagination would extend this far, he even got that old way of speaking correctly. Before you arrived here, you must have heard a voice. That was Lord Pharaohs, our primal god, the eternal guide who watches over all. It is by his divine will that you have been chosen to bear the sacred burden of becoming the hero, the protector of our world. Nerithus, I understand that such revelations must weigh heavily upon you, especially as one who does not hail from our lands. Yet, O blessed and noble hero, I humbly beseech you. The Pope suddenly knelt, pressing his forehead to the floor again. His voice trembled with strong emotions as he pleaded, please, save Nerithus. Other priests present followed, copying the Pope's actions. O great hero, please save Nerithus. They spoke in unison, once again, their foreheads pressed on the floor. Cale was taken aback as he witnessed this scene. In his mind, he couldn't help but question. Is it just me or do these people really love their floors? Actually, who cleans this place anyway? That guy needs a raise. Soon, however, he shook his head as he got the answer. No one cleans this place, it is a dream, it is supposed to stay clean. As Cale thought of that, silence fell over the hall. While the Pope and the priest continued to show their admiration for the marble floor, Cale was frowning. When is this going to end? Most of his dreams only lasted for a minute or two at most, but this one. It seems like this is an exception. Am I supposed to do something to wake up? He did try opening his eyes and waking up, but that didn't work, and while he did think of slapping his face, that just sounded outright stupid. Fuck it, Mark will wake me up soon anyways, let's just see how far this plays out. I am a hero. He questioned as he raised his eyebrow. Chosen by the great Pharaoh himself, the Pope answered confidently. Chapter 4. What was that? I am a hero, Cale questioned as he raised his eyebrow. Chosen by the great Pharaoh himself, the Pope answered confidently. Great Pharaoh, huh, who was he again? Great Pharaoh is our primal god, the eternal Gwei. Right, scratch that. Too much info dump. Cale quickly waved his hand, stopping the Pope. T'll wake up soon, so, instead of the lore, continue with action. What am I supposed to do now that I am hero? Kill the demon lord? He questioned. The Pope blinked in surprise. For a moment, he was wondering if the hero had something wrong with his head. Soon, however, he shook his head. He cannot doubt the will of great Pharaohs, that is blasphemy. The Pope then stood up and glanced at Cale. Please follow me, noble hero. Cale nodded and followed the Pope. The two started walking towards the massive crystal Cale saw before. This is the Orb of Resonance. One of the ancient relics that belongs to our kingdom, a gift given to us by our Lord Pharaohs. It reveals the potential of those who touch it. It is said that if you are able to make the orb react to you, even if it is a small vibration, you are destined for greatness as long as you reach your full potential. Please place your hands on it. This will confirm your destiny as the hero and ease all your doubts. Typical isekai stuff. Cale nodded to himself. I guess Mark was correct. I need to stop watching that stuff. Then, he started thinking. A girlfriend, huh? He thought about Mark's suggestion, and at the same time, he moved his hand and placed it on the orb of whatever. The Pope and the rest of the priests observed this scene with fervent eyes. Cale then felt something entering his body. It was a feeling he had never experienced before, but before he could express his shock or move away, the Orb of Resonance blazed with brilliant light that blinded all who were present. The sound of it vibrating as if it would soon break into pieces echoed throughout the hall, and, what is this? I can't see. It's too bright. A priest shouted. Is this the potential of the hero? Another priest gasped. Nerithus is saved. Nerithus is saved. O noble Harif. O great Pharaohs. Thank you for blessing us. The Pope and the priests fell to their knees again, their voices thick with awe. This time, their eyes showed even stronger reverence and devotion. If, before, their belief came from the prophecy, now, they were seeing it with their own eyes. In their entire life, they had never seen anyone who made the orb glow as brightly as Cale did, and this was a big deal since these people had seen even the strongest tamers test their potential using the orb. Even the current Grand Marshal of the Drakethar Kingdom, one of the strongest warriors in the entirety of Nerithus, was only able to make the orb glow faintly, and even that surprised all of Drakethar. After all, the orb barely reacted to anyone. If it did, it would only vibrate lightly. Glowing was a rare case. The number of times the priests had seen it glow, even faintly, could be counted on the fingers of one hand. As for this, the glow so bright that it blinded them all, this was something they had never even dreamed about. This man, he was indeed someone chosen by the great Pharaohs. The man who would save Nerithus. What the hell? Who blinded me? While the priests had pretty much lost their minds, Cale felt a strange energy coursing through his entire body. His eyes were blinded by the bright light the orb emitted. Then, suddenly, ding, he heard a sound. Talent awakened. Talent name, Dragon Genesis. Talent rank, SSS rank. Cale frowned, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. But then, his vision blurred, and suddenly, his surroundings shifted, showing him an entirely different scene. He was no longer standing in the hall with the Pope and the priests. He was in a completely different place, his body no longer his own. It was as if he was pulled into someone else's world, seeing through his eyes, feeling his emotions as though they were his own. The vision was vivid and terrifying. The air was thick with the scent of blood and decay, and the distant sounds of battle echoed in the background. Cale could feel his body pressed to the cold ground, held down by monstrous hands. He struggled to move, but the grip was too strong. His chest was crushed beneath the weight of these creatures, their claws digging into his skin. A monstrous hand was holding his head up, and while another kept his eyelids open, forcing him to watch the ongoing slaughter. His body trembled, his breath was shallow, his heart wrenched in pain. The monsters with grotesque appearances tore through helpless humans with savage ferocity. AAA AG GGGHHHHHHHH. Help me. Spare em no. Screams filled the air as humans were slaughtered without mercy. Cale felt a chill crawl up his spine as he realized something. These monsters. They were the same monsters from his dream. The monsters he vividly remembered. Step, step, step. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. An aged woman, with long, white hair, and silver eyes that gleamed with a chilling, malevolent light. She walked towards Cale or the man, pinned on the ground with a cruel smile on her lips. Like what you see. Her voice was hoarse, clearly belonging to an aged person who didn't have long to live. I told you, didn't I? Since you refuse to submit to my lord, I will make you die in despair. The man's eyes widened, and Cale could feel his heart burning with endless rage as the woman's words sunk in. The monsters around them continued their bloody work, but the woman seemed unfazed. She knelt down before him, her gaze never leaving his eyes. How was it? She continued, her tone full of mockery and cruelty. Watching the destruction of the world you so desperately tried to protect. Seeing everything you cherished being annihilated in front of you and being completely helpless to do anything. O brave and strong Dragon Lord, the strongest of humanity, did you enjoy it? Cale felt the man's chest tighten, his emotions boiling over as the woman's words cut through him like a knife. His entire body shook with rage, despair, helplessness, and regret. Soon, however, his rage took over all other emotions as he glared at the woman and screamed, Nerissa AAA, ha 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 tilde. The woman, Nerissa, however, wasn't affected by his rage in the slightest. Her laughter echoed in Cale's ears, a sound so cold that it sent a shiver through his entire being. Before Cale could process anything anymore, the vision took a final, brutal turn. He watched in horror as the woman raised a sword, its blade shining with a deadly cold light. Slash. With one swift motion, she brought it down, and the man's head was severed from his body. Blood sprayed the ground, and the vision shattered into darkness. Ha! Cale woke up. Ha ha, ha! Gasping for air, his heart racing, his body drenched in a cold sweat and trembling without stopping. He looked around and he wasn't in his room. He was still in that big hall, the priest still kneeling in front of him in reverence, and he couldn't be more confused. What was that? Chapter 5. Dragon Genesis. What was that? His mind was in a messy state. This time, the vision he saw was much different than anything he had seen before. The emotions he felt, the despair, the helplessness, and the rage. All of that felt too real. Cale's legs trembled, his stomach churned. He felt like if he didn't control himself, he might vomit his guts out. All those screams still rang in his ears. Visions of humans being massacred by those monsters were clear in his head. The anguish, the anger, the pain he felt as the monsters' claws pierced his skin as they grabbed him, or how they made him watch everything by force. He could vividly remember every single thing, even the vision before his head was severed. Cale's body trembled again. He stepped back, his legs staggering. Hero. Suddenly, the Pope, who noticed Kale's odd behavior called him out. With a worried look on his face. Is everything all right? He questioned. His words pulled Kale out of his reverie. Once again, his eyes fell on the place. He was in the same hall, in front of the same pope and these priests who were looking at him with the same reverence. He still hadn't woken up from his dream. Is this really a dream? Kale began having second thoughts. That vision had messed up his mind. He couldn't think. Hero, the Pope called out again. Why yes, Kale replied. It was an unconscious response. Did you awaken your talent? Talent. Kale frowned. However, the moment he said those words, a screen appeared in front of him along with a sound. Ding. Talent awakened. Talent name, Dragon Genesis. Talent rank, SSS rank. Kale froze, his breathing became unnatural. What? The glowing screen hovering in front of him was surprising enough, but what truly sent a chill down his spine was the name of his talent. Dragon Genesis. The word, dragon, struck him like a thunderclap. It wasn't the talent's grandeur or the mythical nature of dragons, it was the vision he just saw. Amongst the countless corpses he saw, quite a few of them were of dragons. The endless field of dragon corpses. He also recalled the gut-wrenching emotions he felt every time his eyes fell on the dragon's corpse. Kale wasn't a fool. That woman also referred to that man as dragon lord. These two hints were more than enough for him to understand that that man and those dragons were closely related. From the start, what Kale hated the most was how his consciousness was tied to that man's body. If it was just a normal vision where he saw everything from a third person's point of view, like a movie, it wouldn't shake him to this extent. Sure, those visions were disturbing, but he would simply close his eyes and not think about them. What made everything so difficult for him was the fact that he was seeing through someone else's eyes, unable to even close his eyes when he wanted to, and feeling all those emotions that being felt. To feel everything he felt so clearly. It was almost as if the two of them were the same person. It was a thought Kale had buried deep in his mind, but now, as he saw his talent, a talent that was related to the dragons, that thought resurfaced again, and just thinking about how that man's life ended, Kale's entire body shivered. No, I am thinking too much. All of this is just a dream anyways, a nightmare, and I will wake up from this nightmare soon enough. Kale tried to stick to his last hope. Hero, did you not awaken your talent? Seeing the hero acting strangely, the Pope questioned with an unsure look on his face. Kale, wanting to distract himself from his thoughts, decided it was best to converse with another person, even if that said person was born from his imagination. I did. You did. The Pope's face instantly brightened up. What talent did you awaken? He questioned with a curious look on his face. At his question, Kale decided to start reading the rest of the details as well. Talent name, Dragon Genesis. Talent rank, SSS rank. Dragon Genesis. Description. Power to turn any beast with even the slightest trace of dragon blood in them into a full-grown dragon. Innate talent skills. Draconic awakening. Description. The foundational power of Dragon Genesis. Awaken the latent dragon bloodline in any beast, turning it into a full-fledged dragon. The awakened dragon retains its original traits, while gaining the superior strength, intelligence, and magic inherent to all dragons. Draconic sense. Description. Detects beasts or eggs with even the faintest traces of dragon bloodline within a 500-meter range. Automatically activates to guide you toward the target. Dragon's Eye. Description. An ability that allows you to peek into other beings' secrets, their strengths, their weaknesses. Everything will be clear to you with one look. The stronger the opponent, the more difficult it is to see through them. Draconic vitality. Description. Your body is enhanced by the essence of dragons, granting you immense endurance, faster recovery, and immunity to basic poisons and diseases. Blood pact. Description. An ability that allows you to form a sacred bond with dragons. Dragon Whisperer. Description. Your connection with dragons transcends speech. You can naturally understand, influence, and calm all dragon-like creatures, even those not awakened by you. Hostile dragons are less likely to attack, and friendly dragons will gravitate toward you. Shared growth. Description. You and your dragons grow together. This synergy ensures that you all become a unified force, capable of overwhelming any foe. Aura of the Dragon Monarch. Description. Because of the dragons under your command, the aura you radiate carries the essence of dragons, allowing you to suppress weaker foes and boost your allies' morale. With your presence alone. What? Kale, who finished reading the entire thing, couldn't believe what he was seeing. I can create dragons. Chapter 6. A perfect plan. I can create dragons. Kale couldn't believe what he was seeing. A talent to create dragons. Dragon Lord. Even a fool could put two and two together. I am fucked, aren't I? A weak smile appeared on Kale's face. He could feel goosebumps all over his body. There were too many questions in his head. Was he correct? Was the man in the vision actually the future him, or was it his predecessor who had the same ability as his? But then how was he able to feel his emotions so clearly? Fuck, I need to calm down. I won't be getting answers to any of my questions right now. The vision was just messing with his head, so he stopped thinking about it altogether. Hero, what talent did you awaken? The Pope repeated his question, once again pulling Kale out of his reverie. Kale glanced at the Pope again. This time, he was sure. This wasn't a dream. He wasn't going to wake up. That circle that appeared beneath him, it must be some sort of magic that has now summoned him to this world as a hero. How fucking cliché. Kale cursed in his head. If it had happened before, he might have been excited, but after the vision he saw, that was simply impossible. What good is being summoned to a fantasy world when he might have to face those terrifying monsters in the future? Wait, don't all protagonists face such monsters? He realized it. Ugh, I would have come to terms with reality on my own. Why show me that horrifying vision? Kale complained. Shouldn't you show me the good side and rope me in first? Why would you demotivate me from the very sta? Suddenly, Kale froze as he recalled something. You must be the main character, who will be summoned to another world that is being threatened by foreign monsters. As the hero, you will be tasked to save that world. The dream you see must be how the previous hero, the Dragon Man, lost against the foreign monsters, and now all the responsibility is on you, the new and brave hero. It is up to you to defeat the monsters, create a harem of beautiful women, and then live a happy life as the strongest existence in the world. He recalled the words Mark said to him before they came here. Yes, that bitch was being sarcastic. But everything he said came true. Was that fucker a prophet sent to alert me? Kale couldn't help but wonder. Soon, however, he shook his head. Prophets don't go around sinking their heads into the gutter. Kale had too many embarrassing memories of Mark in his head to take that guy seriously. Hero. Once again, the Pope called out, this time, somewhat tired. He had no clue why this hero was so absent-minded. Or was his assumption previously correct and the hero's brain is actually absent? No, Altherin, this is blasphemy. He scolded himself in his head and glanced at Kale, waiting for him to respond. Oh, right, my talent. You want to know what talent I awakened, correct? The hero questioned. Yes. The Pope nodded, and once again, Kale turned silent. There were still too many questions in his head, too many things he was unsure about. However, if there was one thing he knew, it was that the vision he saw was a warning. Someone or something was trying to warn him. Kale's brain, that had spent 3 years exploring the culture, started working, analyzing everything he knew related to this hero and being summoned to another world stuff. And after a not-so-thorough analysis, he made a decision. Am I supposed to know what talent I awakened, he questioned with a frown on his face. Huh, the Pope frowned. Is there a problem? Cale tilted his head, feigning confusion. Well, anyone that awakens a talent through the orb usually knows what talent they awaken, the Pope answered. What about the hero? Did the previous hero know what talent he awakened as well? Cale questioned. The Pope, however, was unsure. I do not know. There are no records of any other hero being summoned to this world. There are ancient legends, but that is all we have. There are no clear records, the Pope replied, and the moment he heard those words, Cale inwardly smiled. So that means you know jack shit. I can say whatever the hell I want. And you have no choice but to believe it. I do not know about others. I did feel some energy enter my body, but I do not know what it did. Maybe I am not the hero you are actually looking for. Cale spoke with uncertainty, trying to get out of this situation. No, that cannot be. The will of great pharaohs is never wrong. The Pope replied with certainty. You must have awakened your talent, you just do not realize what it is. Worry not, hero, we still have time on our hands. As you grow, your talent will bloom, and it will bloom so wonderfully that even a child would be able to recognize it. I understand. Cale nodded weakly. Che, he snorted. He thought he could get away, but it didn't work. Then, he just shook his head. At the very least, he was able to hide his talent. Why did he do that? Because normally, in this situation, if he didn't see the vision, he would have revealed all the details of his talent to this person next to him. Cale's thought process was simple. If the vision wanted to warn him, then it must have wanted him to do things in a different manner than he normally would. So if he normally would have revealed all the details, right now, he decided to hide it. Now he had no clue if he had interpreted this the right way. He also knew just how annoying it was to read every time the strong main character decided to hide his powers. Right now, however, he wasn't a reader and this wasn't a novel. Cale wanted to survive, no matter what it took. The number of dragons I saw in the vision was too little. It is one thing to have a low number, since dragons are supposed to be rare, but if you had the power to create dragons, then how come I only saw 30-something dragons? Cale couldn't understand. His plan forward, however, was clear. If 30 didn't work, he would create more. 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 dragons. He would create so many dragons that the enemies would piss in fear the moment they saw his dragon army. Then he would accept their surrender since he is scared of fighting. He would win without having to fight. A perfect plan. Chapter 7. Yes, Your Majesty. A few minutes later, Cale stood in front of a massive gilded door that led to the royal throne hall. Yes, he was about to meet the king of this kingdom. The Pope had dragged him here, saying how the king wanted to meet him and how the king and the hero were supposed to be on the same page and whatnot. Since it was the king, the head of this place, Cale couldn't deny it either. Staring at the grand gates, Cale was overwhelmed. The Pope, wearing his golden white robes, placed a hand on Cale's shoulder. Be at ease, he spoke. The king has awaited this moment for years. He sees you not only as our savior but as the hope of all Nerithus. Hearing his words, Cale nodded, and a determined look appeared on his face as he mentally prepared himself to meet the king. The doors opened up, revealing a grand throne hall that seemed like it was designed to make others awe at its majesty. Massive columns carved with intertwining dragons spiraled toward the ceiling. The shimmering tiles caught the sunlight streaming in through tall stained glass windows. At the far end of the room, seated on a crimson and gold throne, was the king, Alden Dragonborn. The king rose as Cale entered, his purple eyes shining brightly with excitement. His purple hair gleamed under the golden light, and his imposing figure radiated both authority and warmth. He descended the podium with practiced grace, his crimson cloak flowing behind him. Hero, Alden's voice resonated throughout the hall. I welcome you to the heart of Drakethar. Your arrival is a blessing, Fulfillment of prophecy, and the dawn of a new era for our kingdom. Who talks like that? Has he memorized all this? Kale couldn't help but wonder. However, seeing that the king continued to stare at him, he realized that he was supposed to say something here. Why yes, your majesty. That was the only thing he could think of. His response made the nobles present in the throne room frown. The king, however, laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, you don't need to be so nervous. Then, he placed his hand over Kale's shoulder and said, you can calm down. Let us start. With our introductions. I am Alden Dragonborn, the king of the great Drakethar kingdom. What about you? I am Kale Carter. Kale answered. Hero Kale. The king nodded as he stared at Kale. Kale, once again, had no clue what he was supposed to say here, so he just repeated what he had done before. Yes, your majesty. His response seemed correct, as the king continued. I know you must be confused. Being summoned to a world completely different from what you are familiar with. It must be quite overwhelming. No shit. Be at ease, brave hero. Let me give you a brief description to help you familiarize yourself with this world. Yes, your majesty. Kale repeated. The king then started. The world of Nerithus is a land blessed by Lord Farouz, the primal beast lord, the origin and guardian of all bonded creatures. It was through his divine will that the first sacred bonds between humans and the beasts of this world were formed. These bonds are the foundation of everything we hold dear. The king stared at Kale and continued. In this world, we do not fight, live, or grow alone. We rise or fall together with the bonded creatures that Lord Farouz has gifted us. These beings are not mere companions, they are our equals, our partners. Together, we build strength, wisdom, and prosperity. Together, we plow fields, construct cities, and even wage war. In the end, I couldn't skip the lore. Huh. Kale sighed inwardly. Of course, now that he knew he was going to stay in this world, he listened attentively. The king leaned forward, his voice steady but passionate. Everything in Nerithus depends on these bonds. Our progress, our culture, our very survival, everything hinges on these bonds. The stronger the beast you bond with, the higher you rise in this world. Nobles are revered for the strength and rarity of their bonded creatures, while marshals lead armies of beast-bound warriors. Even our most sacred rites are carried out alongside our loyal companions. In battle, a warrior who has forged a bond with a mighty beast will always be unmatched. Even if that warrior fights without their bonded companion at their side, the strength of their bond makes him far superior to someone without a beast or with a weaker bond. So a world of beast tamers. Kale noted in his head. It is said that the stronger the bond, the closer we come to Lord Farouz. Divine essence. Those who walk this path, nurturing their bonds, become unparalleled. As our hero, you too will walk on the same path. You will form bonds with strong creatures, strengthen those bonds with time, and face your enemies together with your trusted bonds. Of course, in this journey, we, the Drakethar Kingdom, will always be your allies and have your back. Your talent is still unknown, but that isn't a problem. With time, the king continued. Kale, however, could already summarize what he needed to know. So like Pokemon, but here, the Pokemon trainer grows stronger together with the Pokemon. Got it. He nodded inwardly. Hero, I understand I am overwhelming you by divulging all of this to you the instant you arrived, but there is one final matter that I must share with you. The king spoke after a solemn pause. He straightened his back, his expression shifting from the warm enthusiasm of earlier to something heavier, more serious. It is regarding the true reason for your summoning. The king spoke as he stared at Kale. And this time, Kale looked at him, mirroring the same solemnity. Of course, he didn't forget one last thing. Yes, your majesty. The words, yes, your majesty, seemed to act like the enter button in the games Kale had played before. Every time he pressed this button, the king continued. Honestly, Kale was tempted to try and spam this button to see if the king would skip the lore, but just thinking about how foolish he would look if he continued to shout, "Yes, Your Majesty," again and again. He dropped the thought. And who knew? The king might think that he was trying to dishonor him and throw him out, or worse, execute him. Kale wasn't daring enough to try it out. Chapter 8. Fire Dragon Bloodline. Detected. Our world, Nerithus, has always been blessed by the benevolence of Lord Pharos. The magic beasts that dwell within this land have always lived in harmony with humans. Even the untamed beasts of the wilderness, though wild and free, have never interfered with human settlements. It has been an unspoken law, one rooted in Lord Pharos' divine order. The king continued, his tone becoming graver. But something has changed. The beasts of the wilderness have turned feral, attacking our cities and killing our people. Entire towns have been destroyed. Countless lives have been lost. Alden lowered his voice. One could see that he was deeply affected by it. The helplessness and worry in his voice couldn't be hidden. Kale frowned. This didn't make any sense. Attacking humans. Didn't you just say the beasts are meant to coexist with you? Why would the beasts attack humans? He questioned. Precisely. Their attacks defy every principle we hold sacred. It is as if something has corrupted them, twisted their very essence. The beasts we once revered as our allies and protectors have become our greatest threat. Alden's voice grew more solemn. His unease could be felt very clearly. And what's worse is that this isn't an issue only we, the Drektor Kingdom, are facing. Reports have come from other kingdoms across Nerithus. The beasts in the wilderness have become frenzy throughout Nerithus. It is a sign that something has gone terribly wrong. A catastrophe of unimaginable scale looms over us. A.C. catastrophe. Kale stuttered. Once again, the vision of thousands of monsters tearing humans apart played out in his head. What is this catastrophe? Kale questioned, wanting to know more about this. The king, however, shook his head. We do not know. The magic beasts are known to be creatures closest to Lord Pharos. If these beasts have been corrupted, then this is anything but a good sign. Something is wrong, we just do not know what it is yet. All we know is that this madness began months ago, gradually getting worse. Towns that once thrived are now no more than ruins. People live in fear, unsure whether they would live to see the next day or not. Alden then stared right into Kale's eyes and, according to the ancient prophecies, it was foretold that when such a calamity strikes, when the beasts turn against humanity, and humanity stands on the brink of extinction, a hero will be summoned, one chosen by Lord Pharos himself, to lead us out of the darkness. That is why you are here, Kale. You are our hero, the hero of all Nerithus. Suddenly, as if his grand status meant nothing to him, the old king bowed, his form almost parallel to the ground. King, O king, the nobles and servants present in the hall exclaimed in surprise as they witnessed this scene. The king, however, ignored them all. And you carry the hopes of all Nerithus on your shoulders, Kale. I request you, a hero, please do not let us down. Kale quickly grabbed the king. Please do not bow your head. Your Majesty, he stuttered. No matter how much he wanted to joke around in this situation, seeing a king, the head of this place, bowing his head in front of someone who didn't even belong to this world was not funny. If the leaders back in my world were half as responsible as him, our conditions would have been much different. Kale thought inwardly. At the same time, he couldn't help but respect the king who stood in front of him. Someone of your status shouldn't bow your head like this, Kale spoke, his face full of respect and worry. Alden, held by Kale, stared at him. And me and my people are all relying on you, brave hero. He spoke, his eyes showing the desperation and helplessness. I will do my best and protect everyone. Kale nodded. These words meant more to him since he saw that vision. After all, he had seen the possible end of this world and his own. The king smiled, his expression a mix of pride and hope. You have my gratitude, Hero Kale. He spoke as he stood straight. Then, to lighten up the mood, he continued. I have already said everything wanted to say. There are matters that need our urgent attention, but today, we must celebrate your awakening. Lord Farouz himself has smiled upon us and blessed us to be able to see his chosen one standing in this hall. The king then gestured, and a servant brought forth a tray holding a goblet of gold. Drink, hero, a toast to the bond between you and Drakethar. Kale glanced at the king for a moment. Then, he accepted the goblet, the liquid inside shimmering faintly. He raised it to his lips, taking a sip. The taste was sweet, and the moment it went down his throat, Kale could sense a foreign energy coursing through his body. This was one of the most expensive drinks in the entirety of Nerithus. A luxury not many could taste. It was Drakethar's pride, a drink only used for grand occasions. Now, suddenly, the king called out, his voice softening, since we are expecting so much from you, it is only right that we give you something in return. No. Alden spoke with a big smile on his face. Then, at his gesture, a servant nodded and left the place. A few seconds later, Kale saw 5 attendants walking into the hall, each carrying a pedestal covered in silk. The servants quickly arranged themselves in a semi-circle before the king, and with a nod, they pulled back the silk cloths, revealing 5 glimmering giant eggs. These are the finest beast eggs from the royal collection, Alden explained, pride evident in his tone. Each holds a creature of immense power and potential. They are rare, unique, and worthy of a hero such as yourself. You may choose any, and it shall be yours to bond with and tame. Kale was taken aback to think he would get to bond with a magic beast so quickly, but after thinking about it, it made sense. In a world where everything is connected to one's bands, how could the hero start his journey without one? What are you waiting for? Go on, walk towards the one that calls you outmost. One way to see if you have an affinity with a beast is to place your hand on its egg. You would feel a sense of connection with the egg. The affinity between you two exists. The king spoke, wanting him to choose the egg he had the strongest affinity with. Kale, however, didn't need to touch the eggs to get the answer. He already knew what he was going to choose. His skill, draconic sense, had already activated the moment he walked into the royal hall. He just held back, not wanting to attract any attention. Now, however, when he was presented with the meal right in front of him, he had no reason to hold back. Of course, he was still careful and didn't directly jump at the egg he wanted. Kale walked towards a white egg, his fingers brushing its frost-covered surface. You have a keen sense, the king said, impressed. It is the Frost Leon. Its mastery over frost could turn the tide in any battle. Kale, however, slowly shook his head and moved towards a rainbow-colored egg, a sylvan treantbeast. It is said to bring life even to barren lands. The king introduced. Kale then walked towards a black egg, a shadowfeather griffin. The king murmured, fast, stealthy, lethal in the right hands. The fourth one was a purple egg, a thunderclaw seraph, powerful and commanding. The king nodded. It is said to summon storms with a single cry. Truly a beast of legends. Kale smiled. Then, he finally walked towards a crimson egg, its heat pulsing faintly against his hand. A firefang wyvern, a powerful ally, fierce and unyielding. The king introduced, and Kale's smile widened, not because of his words, but because of what he was seeing. Ding. Fire dragon bloodline detected. Skeely draconic awakening can be used. Would you like to use less than draconic awakening on the selected target? YN. Chapter 9. Would you like to use less than draconic awakening greater than on the selected target? Ding. Fire dragon bloodline detected. Skill less than draconic awakening can be used. Would you like to use less than draconic awakening on the selected target? YN. Kale's smile widened as he saw this message. I want this one. He had made his decision. Well, it was pretty obvious. After all, out of all 5 eggs presented to him, Only this one had faint traces of dragon bloodline. Honestly, Kale knew that if he had revealed his talent, he would have had an easier time finding beasts with dragon bloodlines. For now, however, he decided not to be greedy. His life was much more important right now, not to mention he could always change his decision once he learned more about this world. One finally know what my talent is. How did that happen? How hard could saying these words be? He didn't have to come up with an excuse, he just needed to act surprised, and these people they would automatically find a believable excuse for him. He had nothing to worry about. A Firefang Wyvern, EH. It represents boldness and courage, worthy of being your first ally. The king praised. He nodded at the rest of the servants, and they walked away, leaving only the one carrying the Firefang Wyvern's egg. The king gestured again, and another servant, this time carrying a book on a pedestal, walked towards Kale. In Nerithus, the ones who form bonds and grow together with their beasts are called beast tamers. This book contains all the information you need to know about beast taming and the steps required to embark on this journey. Of course, I have also arranged multiple tutors who would teach you everything else you, as the hero, need to know, but it would do you well if you go through this book once. I understand, Your Majesty. Kale nodded. He extended his hands, wanting to take a look at the book, but then, look how diligent you are already. The king chuckled out loud. Hero Kale, this is your first day here. In this world, you must be overwhelmed by this sudden change. So instead of burying your head in that book, join the celebration we've prepared in your honor. Meet the people of this land, savor its joys, and allow yourself a moment of respite. Tomorrow, your training begins and I assure you, it will not be easy. The king smiled as he stared at Kale. So enjoy whatever peaceful time you were left with. Then, he laughed. I understand. Kale chuckled awkwardly. The king raised his goblet high. To the hero, he declared with commanding pride. To the hero, the gathered nobles followed in unison, their voices reverberating through the hall. The celebration began in earnest. Tables laden with delicacies were brought in, goblets overflowed with rich wine, and the air filled with music and laughter. Nobles used this chance to come and speak to Kale, but sensing his unease, the king stayed close, shielding him from the ambitious crowd. As the evening wore on, the two dined together, sharing quiet words. Amidst the boisterous festivities, the more they conversed, the more Kale got to know about the king, and the more he realized just how different he was from the two-faced, selfish politicians back in his world. Kale's respect for the king grew even further. Soon, dancers took the floor, their movements enthralling. The hall pulsed with warmth. For a few hours, Kale allowed himself to relax, or at least that's what he wanted to. But in the end, he was currently sitting with one of the most powerful men in this world, not to mention the nobles had been observing him from the very start. Kale knew that if it weren't for Alden, those nobles would have swarmed him. Behind the veil of warmth, the atmosphere was nothing short of tiring. After 5 hours, the celebration finally ended, and Kale was taken to his own room. The first thing he did, the moment the doors were shut, was to jump on the bed that was at the center of the room. In that moment, he realized something. The mattress was soft, too soft. It was almost as if he was lying on a cloud. The luxurious silk sheets felt cool against his skin, engulfing him in comfort. He let out a long, weary sigh, his body sinking into the bed. For a moment, he closed his eyes. But then the sheer size and grandeur of the room attracted his attention. Turning his head, Kale surveyed the place that had been prepared for the hero of Nerithus. The room was enormous, larger than any room he had ever seen or known. The ceiling was painted with stunning murals depicting dragons, griffins, and phoenixes. Everything was so detailed that it seemed alive. The walls were lined with wooden panels, each depicting scenes of Drakethar's history. On one side, there was a large fireplace, casting a warm glow across the room. Near the bed was a massive window, that opened onto a balcony. The moonlight fell into the room, illuminating the marble floor. It was a room too grand, especially for an orphan like him. Fuck, I really became a hero in another world, didn't I? Suddenly, the realization sank in. I told that bastard that something felt wrong, but he just laughed at me, who turned out right now, huh? Cale swore, then. Oh, the troubles of having an incompetent son. He sighed dramatically, but suddenly, his thoughts froze. He wasn't the only one who had that white circle beneath him, was he? Mark was the same. No, even the security guard and other students had one under their feet as well. Does that mean they were all summoned here? Cale wondered. Are they summoned to other kingdoms? It was very much possible. Thinking about how he might meet his dear son soon made Cale smile. I wonder what talent he awakened. He couldn't help but think out loud. And the moment he said these words, his eyes fell on something familiar. On a polished desk, he saw the Firefang wyvern egg that he had selected. He had completely forgotten about it because of how exhausted he was. Now, however, as he looked at it again, he impatiently walked towards it. Ba-dump ba-dump ba-dump. For some reason, his heartbeat quickened. As he reached the egg, he gently placed his palm on its warm surface, and ding! Fire dragon bloodline detected. Skill less than draconic, awakening greater than can be used. Would you like to use less than draconic awakening on the selected target? YN. Once again, he saw a familiar screen, and this time, he didn't stop. Yes. Chapter 10. This thing is a dragon. Ding. Fire dragon bloodline detected. Skill less than draconic awakening can be used. Would you like to use less than draconic awakening greater than on the selected target? YN. Once again, he saw a familiar screen, and this time, he didn't stop. Yes. The moment he willed it, allowing the system to use the skill, he felt a rush of power surge through him, pooling in his hand. A faint golden light began to emit from his palm, tendrils of energy snaking their way across the egg's surface. The egg reacted instantly. Its red surface brightened, as if absorbing the golden energy Cale poured into it. Crimson streaks of light flared up, resembling veins of molten lava moving across its surface, forming complex patterns. The air in the room grew heavier, and the temperature rose. The egg's red hue deepened. It was as if it was getting rid of all the impurities it had before. The glowing veins intensified, their light pulsating with a rhythm that felt alive. Cale could feel more of his energy being drawn in, the heat radiating from the egg's surface growing increasingly intense. It was so scorching that it should have burned his hand, yet it didn't. Instead, Cale felt a comforting sensation that brought a light smile to his face. Ba-dump. Cale then heard a heartbeat. It wasn't his, it belonged to the egg. Suddenly, a bright, blinding light spread all over his room, and, in front of Cale, lay an egg that didn't resemble what he had selected before. Ding! Draconic awakening completed. The system informed. The egg no longer belonged to a Firefang wyvern, it was now a fire dragon's egg. Ding! Skill less than blood pact greater than can be used. Would you like to use less than blood pact greater than on the target? YN. Suddenly, another screen appeared in front of him, and Cale nodded. Again. Vase. To activate the skill less than blood pact greater than, drop your blood on the egg. Huh, my blood. Cale frowned. Soon, however, he nodded in understanding. I guess it makes sense, it wouldn't be a blood pact if there was no blood. But then another question appeared in his head. Am I supposed to bite my finger and let the blood drop? Fuck no. The moment that thought appeared, it was rejected. What sane man would bite his finger to the point it starts bleeding? Cale looked around, wanting to find an alternate method, and soon, his eyes fell on a wooden table with a bowl of fresh fruits on it. Right next to the fruit bowl, there was a knife. I guess I have to. Cale picked the knife and returned in front of the egg. Hesitation was clear in his eyes. Sure, he had gotten hurt and even bled quite a few times in his life, but he wasn't a fan of self-harm. I have no clue how those Protagonists do it without thinking. He thought inwardly. Soon, however, he steeled his mind, and with an awkward movement, he lightly cut his finger and let the blood drop on the crimson egg. His blood was instantly absorbed. The egg hummed, reacting to Kale's blood. Ding. Blood pact formed successfully. The system informed again. Crack. And as if reacting to the system's message, a crack appeared on the egg. Crack crack. Kale's breathing halted as the crack on the egg widened, its small fragments began falling away, each glowing with residual heat, and, finally, a small snout peeked through. Goo. Then, with a tiny, triumphant squeak, the little creature within pushed against the shell, breaking it apart. Piece by piece. Kale leaned closer. For some reason, his heart started racing. When the last fragment of the egg fell and the little creature inside was finally visible, Kale's jaw dropped, and his eyes widened. Goo. The little dragon that emerged from the egg was nothing short of enchanting. His scales glistened in hues of fiery orange and deep crimson, casting a warm glow in the dim room. The spines along its back were darker than its scales. Dragons were known for their ferociousness and strength, but the little dragon radiated an aura of playful innocence that melted Kale's heart. His oversized, expressive ember eyes blinked up at Kale, full of curiosity and trust. They sparkled like gems, holding an intelligence and warmth that felt almost human. His small, rounded snout curled into what Kale could only describe as a grin, revealing tiny, sharp teeth that were far more adorable than intimidating. The dragon wobbled slightly as it took its first steps out of the egg, its short, sturdy limbs ending in tiny claws. It stumbled forward on unsteady legs, but before it fell, Kale picked it up. Niu. The little dragon laughed. The sight was so adorable that Kale couldn't stop himself from chuckling softly. This thing is a dragon? He questioned out loud. Are they supposed to be this cute? He couldn't help but be surprised. The dragon let out a soft, high-pitched goo before tilting his head. His ember eyes locked on Kale. You're warm, Kale murmured, his voice extremely soft and gentle. The baby dragon snuggled against him, its plush belly pressing against Kale's chest. A soft purr-like sound escaped the dragon as Kale's hand reached its soft belly. You like this, huh? Kale chuckled as he gently rubbed its belly. The dragon's purring intensified, and he let out a delighted, Niu, squirming in Kale's arms. Ah, why are you so adorable, Tilda? Kale questioned. With every passing second, his heart was taking damage. Kale always thought that, unlike others, he wasn't a sucker for cute things, but only now did he realize how wrong he was. Fuck, I am a sucker. He had no choice but to admit. The little thing staring at him with his big ember eyes was simply too adorable for him to not fall on his knees. Hugh. Suddenly, the dragon let out a playful Hugh, and licked Kale's cheek with its small, warm tongue. Kale froze. It was a critical hit. Instinctively, he placed his forehead on the dragon's forehead. The two closed their eyes, embracing each other. Then suddenly, growl. Kale heard a growl that came from the little dragon's stomach. Woo. He was hungry. Picture